Welcome to episode number 286, where I am doing a solo episode and continuing my series on the Srotas or channels of the body. In this episode, I'm focusing on Meda Vaha Srotas, which are the channels carrying nutrients for the fat tissue. I talk about the signs and symptoms of aggravation, the causes, as well as Ayurvedic treatment. So please stay tuned. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Kerala Ayurveda. Kerala Ayurveda is delighted to announce their new, authentic Ayurvedic retreat center in Bali. Ayurveda Bali is a tranquil and luxurious hideaway nestled among 7,000 acres of breathtaking scenery. Ayurveda and yoga packages include consultations, bodywork, therapies, nutrition, yoga, and meditation. And group trips are available also. Visit keralaayurveda.us/Bali to learn more, and you can also find that information in the show notes. Hi there, it's me, Colette, for another solo episode today in my series on the Srotas or channels of the body. If you're unfamiliar with the channels of the body, I recommend listening to the first episode in this series, which was episode number 272, titled The Food Channel and the Srotas. Today, I'm focusing on Meda Vaha Srotas. Now, Meda Dhatu is our adipose tissue, the loose connective tissue in our body, and it's the fourth tissue formed from the elemental juice produced after digestion. Meda tissue or fat tissue takes 20 days to be formed. Meda Vaha Srotas are the channels carrying nutrients for this Meda Dhatu, and the Srotas also provide lubrication, insulation, and normal sweat function, as the waste product of Meda Dhatu is sweat. The mula or root of Meda Vaha Srotas is the omentum, which is a large, flat, adipose tissue layer nestling on the surface of the interperitoneal organs, which includes the stomach, spleen, liver, duodenum, and the kidneys. The kidneys, as we know, are our excretory organs, removing waste products of metabolism and any excess amount of salt and water from the blood to help maintain pH. The kidneys are surrounded by a huge amount of fat, and the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, and the adrenal cortex regulates fat metabolism in the body. Now, the marga or passage of Meda Vaha Srotas is the subcutaneous fat tissue, which is the fat just under our skin. And the opening or mukha of Meda Vaha Srotas are the sweat glands. Meda Vaha Srotas are governed by the following subdoshas: prana, udana, samana, and vayana vayu, Pachikapita and Ranjakapita, and Avalambika, Kledika, and Shleshika Kapha. Now, the signs and symptoms of aggravation of Meda Vaha Srotas are either obesity or emaciation, diabetes, and the early symptoms of diabetes, which are thirst, excessive urination, sticky feeling, and sweet taste in the mouth. There may be a lack of lubrication for the joints, so lots of cracking and popping of the joints. Hypertension and high cholesterol are other signs and symptoms of aggravation of Meda Vaha Srotas. Excessive sweating, oily skin, an underactive thyroid, poor digestion, breathlessness, even with a little exertion, tiredness with a lack of interest in work, and excessive sleep. So what can cause aggravation of Meda Vaha Srotas? Well, it can be numerous, but some may include excess intake of the sweet and salty tastes, and foods like dairy, cold foods, oily foods, and heavy foods. So we see that these foods are all kapha aggravating. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Also, emotional eating, overeating, and irregular eating habits can create an aggravation of the Meda Vaha Srotas, a sedentary lifestyle with a lack of exercise, daytime sleep, and sleeping after eating, which of course will disrupt the digestive process and result in the formation of ama or toxins in the body. Excessive stress on the body, of course, can affect Meda Vaha Srotas, and that could be emotional stress, unresolved emotions, stress in our day-to-day life, meeting stress, schedule stress, deadline stress, or stress due to overexercising. And this ongoing stress, no matter where it's coming from, can cause the adrenal glands to function below their appropriate level, which can cause either weight gain or weight loss. Incompatible food combining, which comes up again and again, as you've heard in this series on the Srotas, as a consistent cause of aggravation. And so food combining is something we should really all pay attention to. If you're unfamiliar with this, check out episode number 26, titled, What Do I Eat? Now, the causes of aggravation of Meda Vaha Srotas are similar to that of Mamsa Vaha Srotas, the muscle channel, which I covered in episode number 282, because Mamsa, muscle, and Meda, fat, are functionally and structurally connected, and the upadhatu, or the byproduct of Mamsa dhatu, is subcutaneous fat. Therefore, if Meda is affected, then Mamsa will be affected also through its byproduct, the subcutaneous fat. Vitiation of the doshas also can be responsible for disturbing the function of the Srotas. As mentioned earlier, obesity is a symptom of aggravation of Meda Vaha Srotas. Obesity is described as Shayula in the classic Ayurvedic texts, and in case I pronounce that very wrong, it's spelled Sthaulya. When there is a vitiation of the Meda Vaha Srotas, the Agni, or digestive fire in the Meda dhatu, the fat tissue, does not work efficiently, resulting in improper metabolization of fat, resulting in the fat accumulating in the body. Now, this fat accumulation causes blockages in the Srotas, resulting in a lack of nourishment for the 5th to 7th tissues of Ashti, bone tissue, Maja, nervous tissue, and Shukra, reproductive tissue. This, of course, can cause a domino effect of further imbalances. The blockage of the channels also interferes with the passage of Vata, and because Vata is unable to move freely, it remains in the abdomen, further stimulating Jathara Agni, our main digestive fire, and causing excess hunger. Now, even though Jathara Agni is strong, the Agni in the Meda dhatu, in the fat tissue, is low, and this results in slow fat metabolism, which leads to an accumulation of fat. The excess fat accumulation in the body will cause further complications as it puts all the other tissues and organs under stress. So even though an obese individual may be very, very hungry because the Agni, the Jatara Agni, the main digestive fire is Tikshna, and the person is eating and maybe craving lots of sweet foods and kapha aggravating foods, so the foods that we mentioned earlier, the sweet and salty taste, dairy, cold foods, oily foods, and heavy comfort foods. However, the Agni in the tissue itself, because each tissue has its own Agni, so the fat tissue Agni is low, and that's what results in the slow fat metabolism, which leads to the increase of tissues in the body. Now, the treatment of obesity, of course, Prakruti plays an important role in obesity. Those with a high kapha Prakruti are more prone to be overweight and obesity. Therefore, it's necessary to get detailed information in regards to a person's diet, lifestyle, physical, and emotional health. Then the treatment needs to be tailored to the individual, of course, and this may include fasting, cleansing, or panchakarma, Amapachana herbs to aid in fat metabolism. Treatments may include dry medicated powders because you want to avoid any excess oil applications in this situation. Of course, physical exercise is important, as well as professional support with any emotional stress, because as we mentioned, there may be some stress involved here, particularly emotional stress, emotional eating. Your ideal weight depends on many factors, including your prakriti, which will determine your tendency of fat accumulation. Those with a higher vata prakriti will tend towards being lean and may suffer more from emaciation as an aggravation. And those on the opposite end of the spectrum with a higher kapha prakriti, as I said earlier, will have a tendency towards accumulation of excess tissues in the body. The goal is to be your ideal healthy weight for your prakriti or body type and not judging yourself from a one-size-fits-all weight chart. Of course, we must take preventative measures to ensure good health, and Ayurveda gives us lots of guidelines to help us for our individual prakriti and guidelines to help bring us back into balance also. If you would like support on your journey, please check out my online services. I have at-home Digestive Reset Cleanse. I have online consultations, educational programs, and if you have any questions before you book, just check out my free 15-minute online Services Enquiry Call. And you can check all those out on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and I'll also put a link in the show notes. So that's it for today. I'm trying to keep these episodes on the Srotas short because there's a lot of condensed information as we continue on our educational journey with Ayurveda and we dive a little deeper into the information. I like to keep these ones a little shorter. And so if you think that this episode will be helpful to others, please share it with them. If you haven't already followed or subscribed to the podcast, please do so. And the new episodes will automatically download for you every week. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, I would really appreciate that. You can find me on social media, on Facebook under Elements Healing and Wellbeing, and on Instagram under Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. That's a new page. My old one was blocked for some reason. So please check me out there on Instagram at Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.